Now, what do you do when the action stops? What options do you have when you aren't catching any fish? You can't expect to catch fish all the time, but you can catch more fish more consistently if you follow a strategy. If you're not having any success, do something different, but do it with a plan in mind. The first step in your plan should be to make some minor adjustments in your presentation. The crappies may not be attracted to the lure you've selected or the way you're fishing it. Always make the easy changes first. Simply try speeding up your retrieve or slowing it down. Use your rod to give the jig a little more action sometimes. Fish your lure or bait at different depths. If those simple changes don't produce results, try a different lure. Go from a larger jig to a smaller jig. Try different color combinations. Switch to a different style jig. Live bait is another presentation that often works when lures and jigs are not productive. A live bait rig can be as simple as a hook and a small split-shot sinker suspended below a bobber. Hook your live bait so it stays alive. With a minnow, for example, hook it through the mouth, through the eyes, or through the tail. If changing your presentation doesn't work, make some adjustments in your location. Keep moving around in the general location. One particular spot could be holding many of the fish in that area. Finally, when you do catch fish, pay attention to what you did to get a strike. How deep was the jig? How fast were you moving the lure? Did the crappie hit when you were right next to cover or a ways out from cover? Remember, fish follow patterns. If you figure out the pattern, you're going to catch more fish. You can't tell the fish how to behave, but you can let them tell you how they are behaving. That's the way to catch fish consistently and have a lot more fun. Let's say you're not having any success at one location. Then it's time to try another area. When you move from one location to another, always remember to clip on the emergency cutoff tether. The emergency cutoff is a safety feature that automatically shuts off the motor if you're accidentally thrown overboard. When you fish flooded timber in the spring, you may want to use a longer rod and no bobber. A long rod lets you just reach over and drop the jig right next to cover. Let the jig drop down a couple of feet. Hold the jig at that level. Give it a little jigging motion up and down. Watch for any line movement. You may feel a slight tap through your rod. If you want to catch crappies in flooded timber, you usually have to put your lure right down into the branches, and you're probably going to get hung up every now and then. If you're using a jig with a light wire hook, you can sometimes pull the jig free by straightening the hook. Sometimes you can slide the rod tip down the line and carefully push the jig off. But you probably are going to lose some jigs. Before you tie on a new jig, cut off a foot or two of line. That will remove any damaged or weakened line. Birds and fish can get tangled up and die in old monofilament line. So, coil up any discarded line and make sure it doesn't wind up in the lake or on the shore. Let's briefly go over that formula for success again. First, location. In early spring, shallow shoreline areas are the first parts of a lake to warm up. Crappies move into those locations, at first to feed and later to spawn. Second, behavior. Crappies are eating small fish and other aquatic animals. Warm, stable weather makes them more active. Cold fronts and falling temperatures make the crappies less active. Third, presentation. You can use many types of lures and baits to catch crappies, but one of the most successful presentations in a wide variety of conditions is a small jig on a light line. When you put those three factors together, location, behavior, and presentation, odds are you're going to have more success catching springtime crappies.
Spring is a time when there is often fast fishing. For a lot of anglers, that's the only time they go crappie fishing. However, crappies can be caught in summer months. In the next part of this video, we'll show you the secrets of catching crappies in their summertime deep water locations.
You know it's summer when the day starts hot and just gets hotter. That's when a lot of anglers give up on crappie fishing. In most lakes and reservoirs, crappies have moved from shallow water springtime locations to deeper water summertime locations. Usually, you'll find crappies near some kind of structure, such as a weed line, rock pile, submerged timber, or sharply breaking bottom. Sometimes you'll find a school of crappies suspended in open water. Often they will be 10 to 20 feet deep. During the summer, crappies have frequent feeding periods. However, weather changes like a cold front can make the crappies much less active. Minnows, shad, and other small fish are usually the crappie's main food source in the summer. So you'll be using many of the same jigs, lures, and live bait rigs you used in the spring. Now let's get ready to go out and catch some summertime slabs on a big reservoir. Start by thinking about location. A big body of water can be intimidating. Where do you start to find the crappies? Local bait and tackle shops can give you some good ideas where to start. Begin by picking out specific sections of the lake to study and fish, like a creek channel feeding into the main lake. A good map can help you find potential crappie hotspots. Crappies use locations where shallow water is close to deep water. For example, a submerged point next to the main river channel, or a long ledge where the bottom drops off from shallow to deep. Fish for crappies on the downstream side of any structure. Crappies use the structure as shelter so they don't have to swim in the current. On a big reservoir, crappies may be in locations a long distance from shore. A good map will show you the location of navigational buoys that mark the main channel. Look for the buoys that are close to the locations you want to fish. Once you find the area you want to fish, focus your attention on the depth finder. You're looking for underwater features that attract summertime crappies. Things like quick changes in depth, submerged trees and stumps. Most important of all, you're looking for crappies. When you find a location that has cover and fish, drop a marker buoy. The marker gives you a visual reference point and helps you stay on the location and the fish. If you're working along a ledge or point, drop another marker and fish between the two buoys. In this kind of location, you may want to use a tightline rig. A tightline rig has a heavy sinker at the end of the line, 2 hooks on spreaders, and a barrel swivel that connects the rig to your fishing line. Here's how you tie a tightline rig. First, thread a few inches of line through a 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce sinker. Tie a small overhand knot in the end of the line to keep the knot from slipping, and tie on the sinker with a clinch knot. Then, about 18 inches from the sinker, make a loop of line several inches long. Make a basic overhand knot with the loop. Then put the loop through your knot one more time and pull it snug. Now you have a spreader that keeps the hook out and away from the line. For hooks, you use 2/0 to 4/0 light wire Aberdeen hooks. You put on a hook by threading the loop through the eye of the hook and putting the loop over the hook. Tie the second spreader loop about 18 inches above the first spreader. Put on another hook, and you have a finished tightline rig. A tightline rig lets you fish for crappies in deep water, where there may be current and a lot of heavy cover. You can use a tightline rig on any kind of rod, but most anglers use a long light rod with a spinning or spin cast reel filled with 20 to 30 pound test line. Check your state and local fishing regulations to make sure a multiple hook rig like this is permitted on the waters you fish.